Japan is known as one of the most poetic names in the world, the land of the rising sun. But here is the interesting part. Japan is not the first place on earth where the sun rises. So why did this particular country came to be associated with sunrise? The answer begins not in Japan but in China. Nearly 14 centuries ago, a simple geographical relationship between the two countries became connected to a name, a diplomatic exchange, a religious tradition, and eventually one of the world's most recognizable national symbols. Look at a map of East Asia. China lies on the mainland, while the Japanese archipelago sits on its east across the sea. From the Chinese perspective, Japan lies in the direction where the sun appears to rise. That geographical relationship eventually became part of Japan's name. Japan is written as the characters on the screen. The first character is associated with the sun all day. The second character can mean origin, base, or a source. Together, the two characters conveys the idea of the sun's origin, the place associated with where the sun rises. And that is where the famous name, Land of the Rising Sun, begins to make sense. Japan is not called this because it was believed to be the first place on earth to see the sunshine. The name is connected to where Japan lies in relation to China. But the story gets more interesting in the early 17th century when this idea appears in a diplomatic letter. Around 607 CE, Japan's court sends a diplomatic mission to the powerful Sui dynasty in China. Among the documents associated with this mission is a remarkable letter. Its opening describes the ruler of the land where the sun rises addressing the ruler of the land where the sun sets. And literally, it is a description of geography. Japan is to the east, China is to the west, but in diplomacy, wording can carry more than one meaning. The Sui emperor is Yangdi, the ruler of the vast Chinese empire, and the Japanese letter addresses him from another land whose ruler also uses the title of the emperor. That wording matters. Traditional interpretations have often seen it as Japanese presenting its ruler as unequal to China's emperor, but the surviving Chinese account gives us a more complicated picture. It records that Yangdi is not pleased by the letter, while the modern scholarship cautions against reducing the episode to a simple declaration of equality. Still, one thing is clear. The rising sun is already part of Japan's diplomatic identity, and this is where the story moves beyond geography, because Japan already has another reason to take the sun seriously. Long before the modern Japanese flag exists, Japanese mythology places the sun at the center of its sacred traditions. Her name is Amaterasu. In Shinto tradition, she is the sun goddess and one of the most important divine figures in Japanese mythology. One famous story tells of a conflict between Amaterasu and her brother Susanoo. Amaterasu retreats into a cave. When she disappears, darkness spreads across the world. The other gods eventually find a way to draw her back outside, and when she emerges, light returns. In this story, the sun becomes more than a source of daylight. It represents light, order, and divine power. Amaterasu also becomes deeply important to the Japanese imperial tradition. At Ise, one of Japanese most important Shinto shrines is dedicated to her, and traditional imperial mythology traces the imperial line back to her. So three traditional ideas are now coming together. Japanese lies towards the sunrise. Its name carries the idea of the sun's origin, and its mythology places the sun goddess at the center of an important sacred tradition. So the name is not really about Japan being the first place where people see daylight. It is where Japan starts when East Asia is viewed from the mainland, and how that simple geographical relationship became woven into language, diplomacy, mythology, and national identity. A direction on an ancient map becomes a name. The name becomes a symbol, and the symbol becomes an identity recognized around the world. Japan, the land of the rising sun.